What makes this meeting special for me is that it really comprises the key opinion leaders in the field. And the meeting typically starts with a plenary lecture, and this year we were incredibly honored to have Dr. Steve Balin, one of the pioneers in epigenetic biology. Steve has spent his career since 1963 studying biochemistry of hormones, and over the last 25 years has really paved new insights into our understanding of epigenetic biology and the important role that epigenetic biology plays in governing gene transcription and expression. Steve with Peter Jones were the recipients of the first Dream Team Award from the Stand Up to Cancer Foundation, and have really done a spectacular job highlighting the importance of this biology across cancer. What has become very clear over the last several years is that the T-cell lymphomas may be one of those prototypical epigenetic diseases. And in Steve's talk, he gave a brilliant discussion around his work in solid tumor oncology and how there's a natural logic to look at the complementary interactions between drugs targeting the epigenome and various immunologic drugs. And we're now trying to learn from luminaries like Steve and Peter Jones and others to try to understand why is it that T-cell lymphomas appear to have such a vulnerability to this class of drugs, which other diseases don't seem to have. And his talk really gave some insight. And there were a number of other talks throughout this meeting which really highlighted this theme. And we've seen every year over the last several years how new concepts in clinical trials focusing on targeting epigenetic operations in T-cell lymphoma continue to yield astounding results regarding overall responses, complete responses, as well as duration of those responses. Susan Bates, probably one of the acknowledged world leaders in histone deacetylase inhibitors, and the developer of romidepsin, also gave a very state-of-the-art talk on the pharmacology of histone deacetylase inhibitors and really trying to shed some light on just how these drugs work. She surprisingly pointed out that these drugs were approved back in around 2009, and it's now been over a decade since these drugs were first approved for the treatment of T-cell lymphoma. Worldwide, we now have 4 HDAC inhibitors approved for the disease, but we really don't have a deep insight as to why the T-cell lymphomas are so vulnerable to these drugs, nor do we have insight into why these drugs or how these drugs work in the disease. What's the mechanism of action? And Susan really provided some interesting new data on concepts revolving around DNA damage mediated by HDAC inhibitors that may account for some of that mechanistic insight into how these drugs are working. So that part has continued to really emerge and continues to be a recurring theme here at the meeting. Enrica Markey, a faculty member who is now at Columbia with us and trained with Dr. Zinzani, gave a very nice talk about some recent clinical trial data looking at combinations of these epigenetic drugs as we now begin to plot a path forward beyond the single agent. And she shared some really remarkable data that continues to reinforce the notion that these drugs in combination are really going to produce meaningful responses as well as duration of response.